What's going on, everybody? We are at 8 Cobble Hill spec house that just finished up in Little Rock, Arkansas. I've had a bunch of people ask me some questions on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So we compiled a list of 20 questions to go over. We'll try to do it as quick as possible, get through them. Some of them will be more in-depth. If you have any other questions, make sure to comment down below. Hit me up, shoot me a DM, and we'll try to do another one of these, depending on how many questions we get. All right, number one, what's the biggest mistake people make before buying their first investment property? People usually wait too long. They get analysis paralysis. They look at too many properties. They can't focus on what they're wanting to buy. And by just saving up some money, getting that down payment, or finding somebody with the money that you could go in with and buying the first piece of property, you don't have to make a ton of money. If you make $5,000, $10,000, that's still a win. Yes, it'll take a lot of work. Maybe it's a flip, maybe it's a land flip, but as long as you're working towards that goal and getting some experience, that's the best way to get into the first property. Number two, is real estate still worth it in 2026? I think this year is going to be a lot better year for real estate. For the last 2 years or so, we've had a problem with interest rates. People have been kind of on the fence about buying. Since around December, when they did the last rate drop, the market has started to move a little bit more. Honestly, Jerome Powell is about to be out of office. If you guys know anything about politics, Trump does not like Jerome Powell, which is going to make the rates drop even further after he gets out. Whoever gets in office is going to want to make a name for themselves. They're not going to want to be hated. So they're most likely going to drop rates again, which will move the market. So I don't think we're in a bubble. I think that we're going to continue moving down that path of everybody getting more and more into real estate and getting more comfortable with the market. Number three, what's one deal you almost walked away from but ended up being your biggest win? So there's kind of two properties in this. I met my wife in 2021. We dated for a few years, and I moved down to Little Rock where she was going to school. In the first 3 months of me buying a house down here, it got hit by the tornado. The tornado demoed the entire place. It was a huge mess, took a lot of work, but it taught me a lot of lessons about renovating. And I noticed a house across the street from this one that also got demolished. It was $25,000. It took a ton of work. I basically had to rebuild the entire house. That taught me a lot of lessons. I ended up selling it. Ended up making somewhere around $100,000, which was a huge win, but there was a lot of risk involved. I could have bought this house and it had a ton of problems and I didn't know what to do, but I learned a lot of things in the process, and that's really just the way you have to do it. Number four, if you had to start from zero today, what's the exact strategy you use to buy your first property? If I had no money and I started from zero, I would work as hard as I could. A lot of people gave the broad statement of just go save up a bunch of money, but you really have to put your head down and work. You have to be willing to wake up at 5 a.m., go mow yards or do whatever you can to save up that money. Now, if you're solely working at McDonald's or a fast food restaurant and you get up at 8 a.m. and you're working till 10 or 11, you may not be making enough, or you have to drop your expenses. If anybody knows Dave Ramsey, live cheap. Beans and rice, rice and beans, live cheap, and save up as much money as you possibly can to get that first deal. You can also do things like flipping furniture, flipping vehicles. Whenever I was in high school, I would buy a truck and I would do a little bit of work to it, fix it up and sell it so that I didn't lose money to depreciation. Number five, what's a real estate secret that most investors won't tell you? They won't tell you this. It is more known, but the more deals you do, the easier it gets. The more relationships you have, the easier the deals get. Your first 2 years, first 3 years suck. You don't know anybody, you don't know any bankers, you don't know any contractors. It's really difficult to get things done, to get people to show up, but the more that you do it, the more people trust you. In some deals, some multi-million-dollar deals, these developers aren't putting any of their money into the deal. They're able to structure it where their equity takes a huge portion of the deal. You know, on a $5 million project, they may only put in a couple $100,000. Whereas in most cases, if you're doing a house flip and you're a young investor, you have to put down $100,000 on a $500,000 property just because you don't have a proven track record. All right, if you guys are enjoying this type of content, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more. Check out my other socials, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And for my people that speak Spanish, hablo un poco de español. Tengo una cuenta para eso. Gracias. Number six, how do you know if a deal is actually good or if it's dressed up to look good? The big one for me is if it's owned in an LLC. You can go on your tax records and look up the name of the owner. And if it's in an LLC, it's a good possibility that it's owned by an investor. Properties that are sold by investors, they're selling it for a reason. Whether they couldn't get it rented, it's got problems, maybe there was a death in the family, but you want to figure out that reason. Another one would be if there's lipstick. You go in and it looks ugly, it looks awful, terrible. Those are usually the best deals. Somebody hasn't tried to cover up something. I think maybe there's some bad plumbing in the walls. I try to stay away from other people covering up their mistakes. It can cost you a lot of money in the long run. Number 7, what's the most expensive mistake you've made as an investor? So I bought a fourplex that I thought was gonna be an amazing deal. It would have been, it was supposed to be quick, but the city made me install fire sprinklers. And not only just the fire sprinklers, we had to install the main water line from the road to the fourplex itself, which was gonna be about $60,000 to $80,000, which I did not budget in, and that was about all the profit I was expected to make on that. Luckily, the neighborhood actually got built up and the property values went up higher because of that. I sat on it for about a year, but I'm not expecting to make much money off of that. And that was probably the biggest mistake that I've made so far. Number 8, what's one red flag that instantly kills a deal for you? It seems simple, but if the numbers won't pencil. There's a thing that I like to follow called the 1% rule when it comes to like rents and rental property. If I'm buying a property for $100,000, I want it to make $1,000 a month in rent. Sometimes it's a little more, a little less, but if it's not around that 1% mark, then I'm not really interested in it. Number 9, what is the fastest way to turn a property into a cash flow machine? Cash flow specifically, it's always the ugly properties. The ones that look the ugliest, that no one wants to buy, that are gonna take the most amount of work. Those will always produce the most cash flow because sometimes they're in a bad area of town, or sometimes they just need a bunch of work and the rents are there, but the property value may not be. So you're able to get a lower property value, but a higher rent. This is really popular in mobile homes. A lot of people like mobile home parks because it's a lot of units in one place. The mobile homes themselves aren't worth much, but the rent on them is slightly lower than market rents in the area. You can buy a mobile home for $50,000 to $60,000, but it may rent for $1,100 or $900 a month, which beats that 1% rule. Number 10, what is the real truth about passive income in real estate? There is no such thing as passive income. I don't care what people say, until you're 60 and you're collecting a Social Security check from the government, there is absolutely no such thing as passive income. You're going to put some time into an investment. Yeah, some investments spit off a little bit more cash flow without having to do as much work. But I promise you, people have this dream life of in their 30s, 40s, they're gonna have passive income from real estate. And I don't care how many property managers you hire. I don't care who you think you can hire to do it for you. It's not passive. You still have to put time into it, and you're still gonna have to go through trials and tribulations of real estate. 11, what is the one thing you wish every new investor understood before buying anything? I think people think it's gonna be easier than it is. They think that everything on social media that people show, or on TLC, whatever the home renovation shows are, they think it's gonna be easy. They think you can snap your fingers and there's a wall painted, and it's not always that way. There's things hidden behind walls, there's things that can go wrong. Even in new builds, there's a ton of things that can go wrong. I think a lot of people misunderstand that from the get-go, and they really need to know that when things come up, that it may not be as easy as they hope. Number 12, how do rich investors find deals before anyone else? I would say most rich investors have a lot of time in the market. They know their area, they know what they like, they know what they want to buy, and they're able to be in those doors. They're able to be in those rooms where they can talk to other people that may be selling that may not be on the market. Or they're also rich because they've put in the time and they know how to go get those deals. There's a thing called driving for dollars in real estate, and it's basically just driving around a neighborhood and you see a house that looks cruddy, looks like it could use some TLC. And what you do is you go on property records, you find who owns it, you look them up, and you get their number. Maybe you shoot them a piece of mail, shoot them a text, call them up and say, hey, do you want to sell your property? That is the best way to find an off-market deal, but there's a ton of different ways to be able to find something that's not listed on the MLS. 13, what is the craziest thing that ever happened to you during a renovation or development project? So I used to do all of my renovations myself. I don't do as much anymore. I was hanging a garage door once, and I had never done it before, and I thought I could do it without watching a YouTube video or anything. And it was one of those garage doors that have like the spring and a wire and a pulley. The wind blew and pulled the garage door down as I was messing with the wire and the pulley, and I got my finger stuck in the wire. Basically was teetering on the ladder with my finger caught up. I know that there's emotional things that go on in real estate, but that was probably the scaredest I've ever been with anything with real estate, because I definitely thought I was going to like lose a finger, and there was no one around. My phone was on the floor, so I didn't have any choice but to just yank my finger out and hope. Number 14. Can you still invest in real estate with little to no money, and what does that actually look like? Short answer, yes. The best way if you're starting is to find someone with money that's not your money. It's not little to no money, it's just little to no money to you. Now, once you grow over time and you do gain those relationships, you can put little to no money in a deal, but you have to have a proven track record that you are able to do what you say you're gonna do in the budget you say you're gonna do it. And that is the only way, without putting anybody's money into the deal, is to have those relationships in place. Number 15, what's a strategy that works in the real world but almost no one talks about online? Honestly, doing the work yourself and learning how to renovate houses. You can make an extraordinarily good income if you are able to do the renovations yourself. If you can put baseboards on, paint walls, lay flooring, tile a shower, waterproof a shower. If you're able to do that, you can save so much labor costs these days. My biggest problem is getting contractors to show up on the site and to show up to work, do what they say they're gonna do. If you're able to do 75 to 80% of the trade, then you're able to show up every day, do it on your time, and you can do 3 to 4 flips a year and make anywhere between $100,000 to $300,000 a year just by you doing the work yourself. It is exhausting. Doing that kind of volume, it takes a lot of work. No one talks about it online because no one wants to do it, but trust me, when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, I was doing exactly that, and it helped me build enough equity where that now I can hire it out myself. Yeah, I make less money each property, but I'm able to do a higher volume, so it matters. Number 16, how do you protect yourself from bad tenants and nightmare situations? I have had quite a few bad tenants and nightmare situations, and honestly, there's not much you can do to protect yourself. There's some things that you can do to try and avoid that. A good screening process, a good background check, make sure you take applications and really talk to people's references. If someone's going to mess up a unit, they're going to do it. It's on the back end that you have to protect yourself, create a budget, make sure that you either take them to collections or, God forbid, you have to file a lawsuit against them. If someone's gonna mess up a house, they're gonna do it. There's not a whole lot you can do. You just have to screen them and make sure you try to get the people that you think are gonna do that out of the way and not really have to worry about that in the first place. Number 17. What's the safest type of real estate investment in today's market? The safest is land. Land is probably the best asset that you can buy long-term, because as long as you buy it right, it's gonna be worth that. It's only gonna go up in value. A house, you can buy it, someone can mess it up, things can go wrong where it's devalued just because there's a lot of things to break, a lot of things to mess up. But land is always gonna be worth what it is. Sometimes it'll be worth more if more trees grow and you can sell off the timber. But the problem with land is you have to make that payment or you have to pay cash. You also have taxes on the land that you have to pay every single year. The good thing about real estate is you can make cash flow off that. So that's helping make the payment, sometimes a couple $100s more each month, but you do run that risk of someone messing up something and you have to go back and fix it so that your property value doesn't take a hit. Number 18, what's one mindset shift that took your investing to the next level? It's really only happened over this last year, but it's starting to hire out more help. I've always been I can just do it myself. I'll do it faster. You know, if I have to call somebody and get them out there, that's still time that it takes, even if they come out almost immediately. If I just hopped in the car and drove and did whatever I needed to do, it was quick. I knew it got done when I needed it done. But over the past 12 to 18 months, I've started to hire out more help as an assistant, things to make things easier for me, where I can focus on the higher earning skills, the things that make more sense. Again, same thing as a tenant. You need to make sure you screen those people and make sure that they're gonna do a good job, because not everybody's out there for your best interest. Number 19, if someone only had $10,000 to invest, what should they do in real estate? It depends on your market, because sometimes $10,000 can be a down payment on a really junky piece of property. If you bought a $50,000 house and you put $10,000 down and then you're able to fund the renovations, you could make a really good flip on that. Like I said, maybe you make $10,000, but that's doubling your investment. Now, these days, it is very hard for me to take $50,000 to $100,000 and make a 100% return. But when you're starting out, that 100% on $10,000 is a lot easier. If you live in an area with a lot higher real estate, I would try to do a wholesale deal. Now, this does take a lot of work. You have to find a property, basically sell the contract. You get it under contract. You say, all right, I'm gonna buy it for this price. And then you find someone else to buy that contract from you at a set price. You may have to put deposits down, is why I'm talking about the $10,000. You say, hey, here's a $10,000 deposit. I'm gonna give that to you to buy this piece of property for $50,000. But then you sell it to Joe Blow for $10,000 more, and then you collect the $20,000 back and you get your deposit back. Question number 20, the final question. What's one trend in real estate that people are sleeping on but will be huge in the next 3 years? I think developing. I think that right now there's a ton of people out there flipping properties. A lot of people in that $200,000 to $400,000 house range, at least in my market, they're trying to find things that they can buy and either live in and fix up to add equity, or someone's trying to buy that, flip it, and sell it to somebody else. What there's not a lot of in my age group, 20 to 40-year-olds, is developers. People that are learning how to take property, subdivide it, build neighborhoods, build housing. A lot of those people are in their 60s, 70s. In the next 3 years, maybe not, but in the next 5 to 10, they're not gonna be doing it anymore. They're gonna be aged out. They're tired of it. They've made their money. They're happy. And if nobody's getting into it now, then there will be a huge gap in the future. And the people that do learn how to do it will make a ton of money. That's the end of the 20 questions, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, comment any more questions that you may have for the future. Check out my other socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I also have a Spanish channel, para mis personas hispanohablantes. Thank you so much, everybody. See you soon.